What's up, guys? Terrence in Motion. So this story is completely different than the type of content that I usually make. It's so far away from center of what I usually record. However, this story is insane, and it's been developing over the past 48 hours. This story involves an individual named Floyd L. Wallace Jr. He's a known quote-unquote passport bro, and he's a U.S. traveler, and he has repeated run-ins with the law. Up here, I'll show you all his mugshots and stories uh, about his run-ins with the law back in the States. But the difference is that this time, the allegations aren't some internet drama or another clash with police. This story takes place in Brazil, and it centers around an investigation into crimes involving minors. According to Brazilian authorities, Wallace Jr. is being investigated for the rape of a vulnerable person and facilitating child sex exploitation, with investigators alleging that he used fake identities, social media, and rideshare apps as a part of how he approached the victims. And here's the part that makes the case different. It didn't just start with police randomly catching him. It reportedly began with a rideshare app alert after a driver flagged a suspicious trip involving unaccompanied minors in Rio de Janeiro. That single report triggered a deeper investigation and quickly escalated. And Brazilian police said that they ultimately located him in São Paulo and arrested him during an operation tied to this investigation, with reporting indicating that authorities believe he was in São Paulo trying to flee Brazil. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down what Brazilian authorities say happened, how the rideshare app report opened the door, and what investigators claim that they recovered in the arrest. And the pattern of prior run-ins with the law that Brazilian outlets say shows up across multiple U.S. states. Because even if half of what's being alleged here is true, this isn't just another passport bro story. This is something much darker, and it raises a bigger question about how people move across borders and stay under the radar. Now, as many of you know, that I have been in Thailand for the past 10 months, and I will say that there are times where when you go to less touristy areas, like I was in Chiang Mai, I was in Hua Hin, you see a lot of older men with younger women. And while you can't necessarily judge the age of a lot of Asian women because they have a youthful look, sometimes you can tell that these girls are not even over 18 years old. And it's been something that's been common that I've noticed here in a travel and living abroad. Now, I know the term passport bros is an inflammatory word, inflammatory term, and also there's honestly, it's more of an ideology. You know, it's not like it's an organization with a head or a CEO or a president, and they have a charter or whatever. They don't have a declaration of rules and documents bind them together. I guess there's men who travel for sex, and there's men who travel and just have sex. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us fall into either category. I'm not here to judge men who travel for sex. I'm not here to judge men who travel and just have sex. It is what it is, right? I'm not an advocate or against sex work or sex workers or any of that shit. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm personally not paying for vagina. But the thing is, at the end of the day, is that people like that do exist, right? And this is another story of how the lines get blurred, because in a lot of countries, there are younger women who can be exploited because they want money, even though they're involuntary. They're involving themselves in the in sex work. A lot of them are old enough to consent, and a lot of them are just being manipulated and used, such in this story as I'm going to explain. Okay, let's get back to the case. How this case started. Rideshare Alert reporting says the investigation began after the Uber sent an alert to the authorities and a driver reported a suspicious trip in Rio involving two unaccompanied adolescents who reportedly said they were going to meet a foreign man who didn't speak Portuguese. Fake identity plus coordination. Police allege the trip was requested by a user using a pseudonym reported as Terry Williams, and the person coordinated the trip used in-app chat WhatsApp and provided ride validation codes. Pseudonyms. Police say he used a network of aliases like Terry Williams, Terry Wilson, Steve Jenham, John Smith to make tracking harder. John Smith, that's original. Arrest and investigation claims. When he was arrested in Sao Paulo, who was involved? The DCAV Rio Civil Police with Sao Paulo Police Support plus Federal Cyber Support mentioned in reporting. Cyber Lab, and a collaboration sided with U.S. HSI and Uber's investigations team. What police say they found? Reporting says police found equipment and alleged video material related to child sexual abuse exploitation, leading to a flagrant arrest for possession of this kind of material. Items were seized for forensic analysis to identify other possible. Multiple outlets reported investigators pointed to the post where he allegedly called himself a passport bro, a sex tourist, and phrased it as Brazilian investigators say he described himself online as. Now, this is the part where I get to talking about the passport bro angle, as I mentioned earlier before. There's a lot of men who do travel for sex, and it is something that is pretty common in uh, developing countries, second world, third world countries, where men travel, and a lot of them do exploit women for sex. And this is one example of a man exploiting women for sex, but they're not women; they're actually little girls. I don't know the reported ages of these girls. Some say that they're under 10 years old. Some say that they're under 15. Either way, it's fucking sick and it's insane. Um, Now, I found multiple stories and multiple mugshots of this guy in the United States when he was arrested multiple times for doing multiple things. And it also makes a bigger question is, if he's a convicted felon, how is he able to travel? How is he able to leave the States? And how is he able to have a passport if he's a convicted felon? I'll probably follow up on the story. I'll definitely follow up on the story to get more details about that. But I just wanted to bring this story to the forefront and just show people what is happening in a lot of these countries. Like I said, in Thailand, I've seen it. Cambodia, I've seen it. I haven't seen, exactly what he has going on, but you definitely see older men with younger girls, extremely younger. And I'm not talking about young enough to where they can. It's legally legal for them to consent. I'm talking about they look younger than 18 years old, and it's something that's pretty common, and it's something that should be spoken about a lot. I honestly think in the passport bro space and the internet travel space, I think there is a lot of rhetoric around what a passport bro is, like I touched on earlier. On one hand, there's a lot of women who just don't like the fact that men can travel and they can have more choices as far as um, casual or committed relationships abroad. But there also is a darker side, a darker underbelly, such as this story, where there's predators who are literally traveling. Predators with passports. That's what we should start calling them. Predators with passports, which is crazy because that's what they're doing. They're predators and they're traveling places and they're taking advantage of little girls. You know what I'm saying? Teenage girls. So yeah, this is another story, and I'm just covering it because a lot of the bigger passport bro channels are covering it, and I just saw it, because I don't necessarily follow this type of content, but if you're in a travel space, you see it. Now, I do know that he used to hang out with a lot of popular YouTubers that are in the red pill passport bro space, or they're kind of like on the fringes of it. They don't necessarily say it, but a lot of men make their content on exploiting women, and this is, I wouldn't say that those people are responsible for his actions because he's a grown ass man and he's obviously a freaky ass nigga by himself. But I think a lot of that content does, encourage and inspire men to travel across the world to do some crazy ass shit, and we need to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Not we as men, but niggas need to chill out. But yeah, I'll get with y'all later. All right, so this is just a little update. I'm going to add this into the video also. I said this is a little update. So before I said alleged, so it's being reported that the material seized in the arrest in São Paulo during the execution of the search and the seizure warrant, the police found several cell phones and equipment used for the production of digital content. One on a seized USB drive, a video produced by the suspect himself was found in which he was sexually abusing a child estimated to be between the ages of 6 and 7 years old. With the presence and content a consent of a woman who appears to be the victim's mother offer money for the act. So he paid a woman to have sex with a 6 and 7 year old little girl. They have the evidence. They have it on evidence. And based on the evidence, Floyd L. Wallace Jr. was arrested on the spot for possession of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. So this woman, he paid a woman to have sex with her 6 or 7 year old daughter, which is insane. And on camera. So that means she was present while he was having sex with her child. And another thing that this article update talks about is that the suspect is identified as a possible member of the movement known as Passport Bros, made up of men from developed countries who use economic power to exploit social vulnerabilities, mainly those of children and adolescents in Latin America and Southeast Asia. According to the Brazilian Ministry of Justice and Public Security, there is evidence that Wallace Jr. raised approximately 2,000 USD from foreign sponsors to finance trips, offering in exchange broadcasts of sexual acts. To try to avoid scrutiny, he would interrupt the broadcast when he was outside of the United States. So that means that a lot of you motherfuckers was giving this nigga money so that he could go and perform sexual acts. Like you're sponsoring pedophilia. That's insane. You niggas are paying these motherfuckers who have no job. You're donating money to them so they can do wild shit like this in foreign countries. That's fucking insane. That is actually fucking insane. That's pretty fucking gross. I think everyone who's donated to him should be held accountable for all of this shit. Because I'm guaranteed it's not the first time he's done this shit. But yeah.